All right. So this is going to be like a 4 informal presentations. The Open Science Hub is going to start, then it's going to be like alphabetical order, PHERECLOS, then PULCHRA, and then CIS. And then let's have a discussion. It's going to be super informal, and again, it's for us to share experiences and what we have been going through, and so that we can see how we can support each other in the best way in the following months. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen so that I can introduce you to the Open Science Hub. I guess then, well, I guess it's better, I don't know, you tell me, maybe Chris, Antoine, and Alfredo, maybe you can talk a bit about yourselves once you start talking about the project. Maybe it's better to do it in a continuous way than doing it now. Is it okay? Okay. Okay, let's go. Wait, sorry, just one thing here. Share. Okay, see, this was my reminder to record the session. Present. Okay, so the open so all of us, I think we have in common the fact that we were granted in the same year, 2019, by the Open Schooling SWAFs project. And I'm sure that several things that I'm going to be telling you about, we are common to all of our projects. So I will try to focus less on the commonalities in our projects, but maybe talk about the strategies that we have been employing, particularly in the first year, and how we see things going. So basically, the Open Science Hub project aims to establish these local mediators in local communities, this team of mediators, to help positioning schools as active agents of collaboration in their own communities, of course, through STEAM, through research and innovation. One important feature is that the Open Science Hubs are being established in communities that traditionally do not engage with research and innovation due to various barriers, as we will see from the different Open Science Hubs that we have. And this can be due to geographical location, or it can be due to socioeconomic status. So basically, we want to establish these teams in these different communities, and these communities are communities that traditionally do not have access to STEAM and research innovation. So our consortium is composed by 9 partners, as you can see, spread out through Europe, as in all of our projects. We in Leiden, we are the coordinators, and as work package leaders, we have Trinity College and also Impact Hub. In Leiden, we are responsible for the coordination management, for the Open Science Hub spaces, and also for the communication. Trinity College is responsible for the part, also this is also co-led by Impact Hub, by the community building. Trinity College is also responsible for the activities as well as for the impact assessment, and Impact Hub for the legacy and sustainability work package. I should say that this first year of the project has been actually a super interesting road, and it has been a huge pleasure to work with all the different partners. And every time that I say we in this project, it's really, I feel that we have been going through a really joint and collaborative process. On top of the work package leaders that I was telling you about, we are establishing several open science hubs across Europe. They are being established in all these different countries. And again, these open science hubs are these teams of mediators that are working with partner schools to position these schools as active agents of collaboration in their own communities to tackle local relevant challenges. And we will be telling you a bit about each of these different hubs, and we'll also show you our website and what we have been showing about this. So in this presentation, I would like to tell you a bit how this process throughout the first year has been going, and the efforts that we have been trying to do, because I think this well, on one hand, might be useful also for the other projects, and for us, it has been a big effort as well. So, on one hand, one of our big motivations for this first year was how could we establish a common methodological framework for the different hubs, so that we go through the same road process, so that we can also support each other, share what we are doing, and also see and compare ourselves in a way that that is collaborative. We have also been working or investing quite a lot in training and mentoring from the work package leaders to the open science hubs. And at the same time, and this is a good example of this, we've also been trying to develop and establish these collaborative strategies to foster synergies and to strengthen joint efforts. And one of the reasons why we also feel it's very important to do this, it's because we feel that within the consortium, there's a lot of knowledge, and we felt that it's very important for the work package leaders to be sharing the knowledge and the responsibilities that they have, but it's also good for the partners, for the other partners, to share their knowledge, their experience, their expertise, so that in the end we work as a consortium and not as individual partners. So going to this common methodological framework, so we have established as the building blocks of the open science hubs these 7 different characteristics, which start from school engagement, stakeholder mapping, community building, to define these local to global challenges, and also very much related, and we will be talking about that, related with the sustainability plans. We are also working on defining value propositions for each open science hub, to establish this technical and financial feasibility, and also how to put this in place by co-creating open schooling projects with our communities. So in order for us to understand where we are all at during this process, we developed a self-assessment tool. This might be a bit small, but everything that I'm going to show you today, it's in the website. So you'll be seeing this. So this is a self-assessment tool that we designed. So Impact Hub, Trinity College in Dublin, and Trinity College and the University of Leiden. And what you can see here is that on top you have all these different characteristics, all these building blocks that I showed you. And here, I think you can see my cursor. What we do is for each of these characteristics, we define what are the steps, the milestones that are important. And each month we ask, or on average, each month we ask each partner to do somehow a self-assessment exercise, where they imagine in the school engagement building in this block, we ask schools. So in terms of mapping schools, have you started? Where are you at? If you've been having any problems or have not started, you would place yourself here. If you are working on it, you would place yourself in the yellow part or in the green one if you have done it. So we ask partners to do this exercise, and then in this beautiful music sheet that Impact Hub designed, we ask partners to position themselves for each of these building blocks. And this is a tool that has been helping us, on one hand, for partners to understand where they are in relation to the objectives of the project, and on the other hand, for us to also understand how we can best support each other, and also provide some mentoring as well. So related with this, we've been, as I told you before, we've been investing quite some time in training, and these started, and I guess we all been through this. In April, we were about to have our first training workshop, a physical one, and it didn't happen, of course, and we had to move everything to the online format. And what we decided to do was that instead of having a big training workshop, we decided to divide these sessions into smaller ones that would allow partners also to work in between the different workshops. And these workshops would be related with these characteristics, with all these building blocks that I told you before. So up until now, we have done several already. We had a stakeholder engagement one in April, and one about co-creation techniques. that has been developed and led by Trinity College. We had another one in July, also led by Trinity College, about evaluation and partner support. And this month we had one about sustainability. So just to give you an example, these are some of the tools. This is just the mural board that we used for the stakeholder engagement one. For the co-creation techniques, here are some other examples. In the case of the evaluation and partner support, I would like also to say that besides trying out some of these techniques and tools that Trinity College is proposing us to use. So we also were introduced to the approach that we were going to use, which I feel it's a very interesting one, because in terms of impact assessment, there's going to be 3 layers of assessment in this project. One, it's going to be at the network-wide consortium, trying to see how this collaborative process amongst the different partners, what is the impact of this synergy between the different partners. Then one about what is the impact of the open science hubs at the level of their communities, and then a third level about what is the actual impact of the open schooling projects in the educational communities. Then this month we had a very interesting workshop from Impact Hub about these Open Science Hub Canvas to try to develop a social innovation business. And we have been introduced to this tool, which again, it's another one of these common methodological frameworks that all the partners are using. And super nicely now, in the following weeks and months, Impact Hub is going to start a mentoring program with all the different partners, which is going to consist of different phases, where there's going to be a webinar, there's going to be some homework for the partners, then some feedback and peer-to-peer, so that partners with different assets and different strengths can also pair themselves and partner each other to see how they can best support them. So in the following months, we are going to be going through each of these blocks of the canvas, as I'm pointing out here. Okay, so now in terms of the open science hubs, as I told you, we are establishing different local open science hubs throughout all these different partner countries. And here just a note that our logo, or the elements of the logo, are in open format in our website, and I'm going to show you the website just in a moment. And so regarding these local open science hubs, what has been happening? So we have each open science hub has their own team, which is composed of the elements from the consortium, from the partners of the consortium. Then they have partnered with schools, which in this first year, there's already a commitment with some schools to develop some of these open schooling projects that are going to be done. And at the same time, there's also another structure, which we call the local management boards. And these local management boards are teams of representatives from different stakeholders of the local communities, which can be universities, municipalities, local associations. And the idea is that local management boards support the open science hubs in their decisions about the different projects that they will be developing with the schools. And of course, the schools are also part of these local management boards. And then through these stakeholder engagement and co-creation mechanisms that I told you before, partners then have been identifying the challenge and the missions that they will be tackling together with their local communities, and how they have been doing it. They are going to do it through open schooling projects. So we are in an initial phase of defining these challenges and these missions. And these are just some examples of challenges and also opportunities that partners have been identifying together with their communities, that of course go from more environmental driven problems to education inequality, of course, COVID-19, and also the need of building active citizenship, inclusive and meaningful learning. Digital literacy is also one of the hot topics at the moment. And this is, for me, just a reminder to show you our website. all of the things that I told you about, we we have been published them in the website. You can see here that this is the main page, but the ones that I want to focus on are for instance, here you have the information about the different hubs. So for instance, let's open here, we have here Austria. You can see that for each partner, we asked them to define how they see open schooling. And actually we are releasing a video, hopefully next week, with the different perspectives of what is open schooling for each partner, their assets, their local teams, the partner schools, then the challenge and missions, and the initial ideas for their open schooling projects. For instance, I can also show you here another one. This is from Greece. You can see again the open schooling, the assets, the team, the partner schools, the local management boards, and also the challenge and missions and the open schooling projects. Something that I would like to show you as well is that we have what we call the Open Science Hub blueprint. And this blueprint, it is divided in several different sections. And the one that I want to show you, and that because I told you that a lot of these canvas are online, you can see that here in this roadmap, you will see the building blocks that I was telling you about. And here you can find the self-assessment tool that I told you. You can see all the different canvas that we have been using to work together with partners, and also this business canvas for the open science hubs. So we see our website as like a canvas where we put it's like a mural where we have been putting all the different things that we've been working on. And just a small note, the recording and this session that we are doing today, it's going to be here in these inspiration sessions. Okay, just to finalize, so regarding, I told you that the open science hubs are teams of local mediators, and they can choose to have a dedicated space. In order to support partners to have that space, we have been working with a designer, with a company from Japan, and with the project Precious Plastic, both in Portugal and in Switzerland, to develop some furniture for the open science hubs. And this furniture is going to be made from recycled plastic, and all the drawings are going to be available online, and anyone that's, in this case, partners with these precious plastic facilities can actually develop it. And this is just an example of the drawings and the prototypes that should be finished hopefully this month, in the beginning of the next month. Okay, just to finalize. So in terms of which other strategies we have been using to foster this day-to-day informal sharing, networking, and collaboration, both inside and outside of the consortium. One of the things that, at least for me, has been actually quite helpful is that we try to have each week an open science hub hour. Not all of them are mandatory, but somehow it helps us to keep pace, or to have an informal moment where we can meet and we can also share some problems, questions. So each week, imagine that this is a month with 4 weeks. And of course we have a project board, which is a consortium board, which is a consortium meeting every month. Then every 2 weeks we have what is called this open hour, which is just like 1 hour where the work package leaders are online and partners can join for whatever questions they have. And then we have these inspiration sessions, and of course these training sessions that we are always also doing regularly. And this actually has been, at least from my perspective, has been helping us quite a lot to know and understand how the other partners are going and how we can, again, support each other. We also have an advisory board, and we are meeting with them next month. And actually, thank you, Chris, for joining this advisory board. And this, again, these are elements from different stakeholder actors, from teachers to SMEs, to universities, to regional governments, and so on and so forth, so that they can also help us take decisions throughout the project. And then finally, something that some of the projects, mainly PULCHRA and PHERECLOS, have also joined. We are developing an open schooling joint communication strategy with other SWOFs projects that then we can talk in the end. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to shut up and pass the floor to someone else. Thank you. Chris, would you like to be the next one? And then we have a joint discussion in the end. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Thanks for the interesting presentation, Maria. It was quite inspiring indeed. I will also share my screen. And I promise to keep it short and concise. To introduce myself, my name is Chris Gary. I'm representing Vienna University Children's Office, which is an academic spin-off company owned by the University of Vienna. And we're the coordinators of the PHERECLOS project. And I'm not alone today. I've seen that quite a number of partners from the PHERECLOS consortium have joined today as well, from I guess 4 or 5 countries: Austria, Denmark, Finland, Romania. I have seen Laura's here also. So it's not me alone representing the PHERECLOS project today, but also a number of our partners. So what is PHERECLOS then, and what does it stand for? The fancy acronym that we have developed, as usual: Partnerships for Pathways to Higher Education and Science Engagement in Regional Clusters of Open Schooling. I think this quite illustrates already what the initial intention of all these projects that were submitted under the same call is, which is giving universities a stronger role in their regional context to support lifelong learning towards continuing and higher education. I think this is what the acronym says. And at the same time, PHERECLOS stands for the son of Tecton. He was a shipbuilder in the Greek mythology, and it's also a name of an asteroid, right? So when it comes to star rocketing new initiatives, PHERECLOS may also be a symbol for this asteroid. Some of the basics. This was the call where we have submitted our initial idea. This is the same for all the projects, I guess, that are represented here. The topic is open schooling and collaboration on science education. We are the coordinators. We have gathered 15 partners from 10 countries, and we started October last year already for an entire project period of 3 years in 36 months. So what is the PHERECLOS say mission or our approach built upon? Basically, we have three building blocks that we're using, that we are starting with. First of all, open schooling, for sure. I don't think I have to outline the concept of open schooling or the understanding of open schooling, even though there seems to be no kind of a joint definition of what it precisely is, but I think we share the same understanding that it's about opening the schools towards the society and the community around them, to enable them to better reflect on what is around them, and on the other hand, to also provide their competence, their creativity, their potential to the outside world and to the community around them. Then we have the Children's University model, and this is one of the key elements of the PHERECLOS approach, because I will later show you that all the what is called a hub in the Open Science Hub project is called a LEC in PHERECLOS, which means a local education cluster, which is a community of several education providers in an area. And children's universities, in fact, do play a very important role in all of these LECs, because they were the initiators. Even though the schools will be in the center, the children's universities, which are academic approaches, will have a role in these. And this mostly comes from the fact that the intention is to enable schools to participate in or to benefit from a learning journey which universities have partly undertaken already as part of their children's university strategies, which definitely help to open up universities to the outside world as part of the third mission, which universities are increasingly starting to develop. But they also had a significant impact within the organizations, because it made not only scientists but also administrators in the academia aware that there is something around them, which is a relevant target audience indeed, even though they're not among the traditional target groups of an academic institution. And this experience that we have made within children's universities will be one of the elements that we are intending to transfer and to promote within the local education clusters. And this is also strongly linked with our understanding of science capital, right? And I guess you're all quite familiar with the concepts and the theories of Pierre Bourdieu. And the theory of science capital is quite closely linked with them as a type of capital, say, that everybody has or should have. And in the case of science capital, it means like a whole bundle of competencies, of habits, of attitudes, which sort of become part of your personality, and which have an influence on, or say, these things that you already know about science determine what you want to know more about science, or what you deem relevant to know about science. And from that perspective, it becomes obvious that STEM engagement and science teaching in general can never be distinct from your everyday life and from your own personality. So there is a quite strong relation, and this understanding is also embedded in the concept of the local clusters as our partners have developed them. So our overall aims are quite linked with the terminology of the call text, I would say. So I think the overall, the most relevant aim is to develop models and recommendations for new ecosystem, for local ecosystems in education, with the schools as the hubs of innovation. And as I outlined already before, with the children's universities as the incubators of that change. Just as they have been for universities in previous years, they shall become incubators of change in a whole region as well, and helping to put schools in the center of that innovation. And for the purpose of meeting the real needs in a community outside and around the schools. These clusters will be built not only, for sure, not only on the expertise and experience of children's universities, but of all the several stakeholders that are around. These may be like typical knowledge providers and education providers, like non-formal education establishments, education initiatives, museums, libraries, etc., but also the more untypical ones like companies, or the municipalities themselves, or public administration. So there are many places for learning, and many of these will be included in our local clusters, particularly for what I have mentioned before, for linking science engagement with practical experience in real life. To support sustainable frameworks, with the foundation laid within the clusters, in order to better respond to the learning crisis. And we all know a lot about the learning crisis, and these innovative local clusters may be one means of better responding to it. So what comes next? All right, so what are we doing? This is our PHERECLOS route. You see, we have the 6 local education clusters implemented in 6 countries: in Austria, Portugal, Finland, Colombia, Poland, and Italy. Each of them has a children's university close to the center of it. Then we have elements of advocacy and policy recommendations included in our concept. This is quite an important element that accompanies the implementation of the clusters from the very beginning, to the very end, which is academic implementation studies, which provides instruments that are quite similar to what Maria has outlined from the OSHub project. Our instruments are maybe less colorful and less illustrative, but we have our training sessions, we have our assessment tools that are directly deriving from academic implementation studies and linked with applicable theories that are available from that side. Then we have just recently launched our mentoring program. You have received the call information by email or by your project coordinator, at least I hope so. So this is something that we are currently starting to implement with the intention of simply widening the range of regions, of countries that are embarking on similar journeys of promoting and enhancing innovative partnerships in education at a local level, and to enhance also knowledge exchange and exchange of experience across country borders as well. Then we have an online community on open schooling. We have a knowledge platform included in our website already, and a knowledge base of expiring practice, which does include quite some interesting examples of open schooling already. I need to move that away. Yeah, so we have the good practice library and a teacher training toolkit that will come out rather towards the end of the project. We have our mutual learning platform, the community part on the website, and we will arrange a conference in the end of the project, which then I guess will also be, and that links to what Mere has said about the joint initiative that we have, well, started to initiate earlier this week, the OS Together initiative. So this conference would definitely be a nice vehicle to carry that further and to help establishing OS Together as a sustainable channel of communication as well. Well, we will have a publication in the end, and yeah, ethics is one of those continuous elements alongside the whole implementation of the project as well. I don't know, I guess you were also requested to appoint an external ethics advisor. We have one, and we are quite in constant relation with our advisor. So this is definitely a relevant element. But these are our advocacy groups, or our advisors say that we're listening to parents, children, school heads, teachers, and we have also have respective partners in the consortium which are representing these advocacy groups, and we are addressing science engagement organization, policymakers, and schools and universities for sure. I don't know how I can move away the video slides. All right. So why is that important? This is a brief summary of what I have mentioned in the beginning. We are building on the concept of children's universities, but so far it has become obvious that, well, that is true across Europe, right? Children's universities tend to be have relations with many of these stakeholder groups that I have mentioned, and in particular with schools. So some children's universities, for example, are directly addressing children for sure, but collaborating closer with teachers or with school administration as such. Others are in a more direct dialogue with the parents. Yeah, but most of them are. Well, say it's not typical that they engage with the school community as a whole, yeah? And also with the other stakeholder groups like industry, like civic society, like the public administration and policy. So the end picture which we want to achieve within the PHERECLOS mission is to put the school community in the center and have the Children's University as I said, as the agents of change, as incubators of change, and moderators around these local clusters that will be designed within Europe or have been designed within PHERECLOS already. So what have we done so far? We started quite a year ago, say. Since that, our learning was evolving. We have set up our good practice library. We have had a range of webinars, training, and also initial assessment from the perspective of implementation studies and also from the advocacy side. And we have designed the work program for our local clusters for the next 2 years. The next steps will focus on practical piloting, say, collaboration in our online community, continuing implementation and reflections in the local clusters. And as I said, we have just recently launched our mentoring program. And in the 3rd years, we will focus on the sustainable spreading of the idea. So we will definitely intensify the advocacy part, encapsulate our knowledge in print and in face-to-face meetings like the conference. And we will also design our teacher training toolkit. So who's behind? That's our consortium. I already mentioned we have 15 partners from 10 countries and further 10 countries for our associates in the mentoring program, and hopefully a growing online community as well. So how can you get connected with PHERECLOS? Very briefly, we have our website, and in the website we have our community portal, and this is a very kind invitation for you all to register and start linking up in our online community. There are several options of how to engage in the community. We have just recently put on our website a handbook on how to use the community, the online community as a guiding document. As said, there are several options. You can join groups, you can create groups, you can upload things, you can get in direct dialogue. So there's plenty of options to get in contact for the concerns of open schooling with other experts and practitioners. Then, as said, we have the mentoring program. The deadline is approaching quite soon, actually by end of this month. As well, say an unconfirmed informal information at the moment is that we're currently intending to possibly extend the deadline, because the official call was well, say formally published on the funding and tender portal a bit later than we expected because of internal and I think COVID-related processes within the Commission. So in order to have the full intended application period available, we are currently thinking out about extending the deadline by say 2 or 3 weeks. This is not yet confirmed, but as soon as it is, we will definitely share the information as well. And then for sure, we have our social media channels. We also talked about this in the OS Together initiative. We have our Facebook account. We have our Twitter handle. So please, again, you are all kindly invited to follow us on these channels and to stay tuned what is currently under development and what has been achieved within PHERECLOS. All right, so much for now. I'll stop here and happy to receive any question.
Thank you so much,
I
Chris.
guess afterwards, right, Maria?
Yeah, I guess so. Then we'll if you all agree, then we'll have a joint discussion in the end. Maybe I'll just pass the stage to Antoine, please. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anton McDermott. I'm from Antarctica in education, our environmental education unit in Ireland. We're one of the partners in the PULCHRA project, and I'm joined today with a colleague of mine in Antarctica, Anthony Purcell, and also Kostas Kartalis from the University of Athens, which is the lead partner. I'm not going to say much more. Anthony is going to give the presentation today, so I'm going to hand over to himself, and maybe Kostas might say a few words as well. So straight on to Anthony in the interesting times.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just share my screen here.
Good morning.
Okay, great. I presume everyone can see that. You're not just looking at me. So as I see any objections, I'll continue. Just to say thank you to Maria and the Open Schooling Hub Network for this opportunity to allow us to, I suppose, make you more aware of the PULCHRA project. As Anton mentioned there, we're part of a consortium and funded like yourselves under the 2019 Horizon 2020 SWAF's call. And we've been active like yourselves, I suppose, for about the last year of a 3-year project. And again, Anton mentioned that the project coordinators are at the University of Athens, and we're joined by Kostas Kartalis as well, who will participate in the questions and answers. I'm conscious that time is ticking by, so I'll try to move through the presentation as swiftly as I can. Again, we have one of these acronyms which seem to be very popular, and a Greek translation, Chris, similar to yourselves. I don't know in terms of word count or letters who's winning at the moment, but we can maybe check that in the end. But PULCHRA, I suppose, stands for Building Participatory Urban Learning Community Hubs Through Research and Activation. And it is a mouthful. So I suppose in Ireland, at least, we try to promote it as science in the city. But I'm sure our partners in other countries as well have a different angle on it. But I'm assured by our partners in Greece that it translates as beautiful from the Latin. They're just there a quick overview, I suppose, of the project. Firstly, the topic we were focusing on is cities and cities as urban ecosystems, and trying to apply and develop the open schooling concept through that theme, and linking with the scientific inquiry-based learning approach that schools are generally taking across the EU as best practice. We've tried to link the topic as well to the UN SDGs, which I'm sure again you're all aware of. So we've linked our resources to particular goals where they're most relevant. We're working with 50 schools across 10 countries and with 12 partners as part of the project. And we're actively involving students and teachers in the implementation of PULCHRA, testing out some of the resources and approaches in a very practical way at local level, and interacting then with various universities, research enterprises, NGOs, local authorities, a real mix, I suppose, of stakeholders, as broad as possible, we're trying to encourage. And then I suppose in terms of communication and transfer of best practice and information, we have developed an online platform, the City Challenges platform for the project, where it's really open access information for all, not just those participating in the project. So I'd encourage you all to have a look there if you're looking for some resources or want to interact with the project. It's just then to go into the project, I suppose, in a little more detail. We're encouraging and supporting students in urban schools to investigate environmental and sustainability issues at local level. Again, using that topic, cities as urban ecosystems. I mentioned there the open schooling approach we're obviously advocating, and the inquiry-based learning then, which is being supported by the various teaching materials, resources, training, and support that we're providing through the project. I suppose the rationale there for, considering focusing on cities, I suppose, number one, I suppose, there's increased urbanization there across the world, not just in Europe, with projections for that to increase, and with that increased population, there's obviously increased environmental, social, economic pressures, as well as the climatic effects of that. We're looking at cities not as something that's stagnant or just the bricks and mortar of it, but something that is a big system, that you have exchanges of energy, information, ideas, biology, ecology, as well as the economics and social elements of a city. So we see it as a real ecosystem in itself, and we're encouraging a diverse mix of projects really among our stakeholders to look at, how they intersect in terms of the natural, built and economic environments. I mentioned we have 12 partners in 10 countries, and there's, I suppose, a illustrative example of where they are in the various countries. I think we have 2 partners in Czech Republic and 2 in Greece. Made up of a mix, I suppose, of NGOs and universities, academic partners primarily, and 1 or 2 private spin-off companies, I suppose you'd say, providing expertise and support to the project. So we feel it's a good mix. I suppose before PULCHRA, a lot of us would have had experience of being involved in the International Globe Science Education Program. So I'm not sure if some of you are aware of that, but I suppose that was the original basis for the partnership. Happy to say no one has fallen out yet, so we're all still talking at this stage. Some more information, I'm not sure if we're going to share slides later, but some further details, I suppose, of the partners there you could probably actually see based across the different countries. And a kind of a high level diagram of how, I suppose, the PULCHRA project is being applied and developed, and the different elements of that. As mentioned, it's very much a partnership approach where we encourage schools and facilitate schools to link up with various organizations, businesses at local level. There's a degree of responsibility for the schools, on the schools as well, to create those links themselves. We find that often, artificially related partnerships and networks don't work as well as the ones that are developed and facilitated at local level. So as part of the process, really, I suppose, and the structure of it, we encourage schools to set up these science teams with the partners, bringing different roles and different experiences and expertise into the team, and then encouraging them to pick a particular challenge or a particular project or focus for their own project, really. So we have we've designed the project around 6 city challenges, of which schools can select one of those challenges. And implement the open schooling system through that, I suppose, and test it through that. A big element of it as well would be the students taking ownership and presenting and communicating, researching the project. And one of the elements of that would be to set up a science reporters team within the school, where the students are responsible for disseminating, communicating the information. I mentioned already as well about the city challenges, the online platform, and we also have a website where we encourage our partners and stakeholders and participants to interact. So again, just a little more information on the different elements. In terms of the partnership, I mentioned about the science team. I suppose the thinking behind this is that, you know, the students themselves, teachers, parents will gain experience in you know, real life investigations, the social the participatory elements of that, and the application of the scientific methods in, you know, in a practical way, and related to meaningful research and science will benefit them in the long term. Mentioned again the different city challenges, and that they are linked to the SDGs, and they're designed in such a way where schools can make those connections. Obviously, the SDGs are very prominent, I suppose, at the moment, and at European and national levels, they've been given a lot of, I suppose, a lot of press, but a lot of schools, we feel in Ireland, still at least aren't that aware of them, and it's about kind of linking up to some of those and providing a context as well for some of the work, as well as linking to the resources that are already out there. The challenges themselves are designed to build good scientific knowledge, promote expert and community participation, and encourage active engagement in the environment, and for students and schools to think about the future environment as well, and not just the present. So I've listed the 6 city challenges there, just to give you an idea of the broad spectrum of themes that we're exploring. I'll just go through them briefly for you there. Powering cities without harming the climate, buildings for the future city, regenerating urban space to connect people to a healthy environment, from waste disposal to resource efficiency, circular economy, related theme, and mobility patterns that support community development, innovation for social and environmental benefit. So I just highlighted number 5 there, because that's the theme or the challenge that we're implementing in Ireland. So different countries will have selected different challenges to focus on. And again, there are various resources developed to support each of those themes and each of those challenges. For example, in Ireland, we're linking it with an air quality campaign around measuring nitrogen dioxide with the 5 schools we're working with. But again, there's flexibility within the system for countries and partners and schools to adapt it to what's most relevant for them. And, you know, from their research, they'll be able to identify that and develop the challenge themselves. A little bit about the role of the school in terms of, you know, they will have and do have responsibility in training and operating the science teams, carrying out the investigations, organising events. Obviously, a lot of these now are virtual events, and it wouldn't open schooling as we would have envisaged it before the programme is very different from the reality now, but hopefully we can have actual events on the ground, and that's, I suppose, been a challenge in itself in terms of trying to engage the community in the project without having the ability to run those events or be physically present in the schools, for example. I mentioned the role of the city science reporters there in communication and exploitation of results then will be primarily through various social media challenges, but also the platform that I spoke about, the City Challenges platform. And there's a responsibility and onus on the schools to populate that, I suppose, and update the network with their progress, really, you know, so other schools and other partners can see what they've been doing and learn from it. And I mentioned there's support materials obviously developed specifically for this project for the schools to, I suppose, give us to test, apply, and give us their feedback on. There's just a link to the website, which is general information about the project, some educational material. There's an ongoing news feed, and then it links into the platform itself, where, as I said, most of the interaction takes place. Yeah, so I would encourage you all again to sign up to the platform. Again, it's you know, the more partners and stakeholders we've involved, the better. You can set the level of engagement as well to suit your own needs and abilities and requirements. So that's open to everyone to become a stakeholder in the project. A registration section there. It's very straightforward. And there on the platform, so you can find different education material, activities that are happening. Each participant school will have a particular area, a dashboard where they can upload information, as I mentioned there. We're hoping as well to populate it with a lot more images and graphics. At the moment, it's quite text heavy, as are a lot of the materials. So we wanted to take a real, I suppose, want to tell a story through the project and doing that through imagery, graphics and online tools such as videos as well. We hope will help support that and make it more appealing to people to interact with it. Okay, just to mention as well, we have an app in development. I think it's very close to being published and uploaded to the iStore and Google Play. So that app is designed more with the general public in mind, and it just gives more info. I suppose it gives a high level information about the project and links to the platform. And I say it's designed for the general public and it has a communication tool more than anything. But again, we can send on the link to that when it's live and let you know when that is available, and you can go through that. It lists out again, it gives details, high level details of the different challenges. Also, there's information there about the SDGs linked to each of those challenges. Yeah, just I suppose practical information on our timeline. Like everyone, I suppose there was probably a little delay in terms of activating the project, particularly working with schools. We just needed to be conscious that schools were open for business, as you will. So happy to say that there's been a very positive response across the network from schools. You know, and we have those 50 schools now signed up and participating across the countries. So an average of 5 in each of the 10 countries. Currently exploring the best way forward on their own projects. And some schools have already, for example, as I mentioned in Ireland, have already deployed and are investigating their local environments and are active with a view to reporting and their findings before the end of the academic year. I suppose these phases are just guidelines and they're quite fluid. And, you know, as I say, some countries, some participants will be further on than others, but by and large, it follows that kind of academic calendar, which will be repeated, I suppose, again in 2022 with a new set of schools and possibly a new challenge for each of the countries to take on. Antashka as a project partner is responsible for the dissemination and communication of the project, and that obviously communication intersects all the phases above. So that's obviously ongoing. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony. Okay, we are a bit behind time. I apologize. So now let's move to Alfredo, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'll try to be quick.
No problem. It's well, we all
Don't
had
worry.
our delays. We all had. Well, I'm the first one too.
The truth is that I was quite busy this week, and actually right before coming here, I was holding a 3-minute pitch talk for the national television where they are trying to gather all interesting projects in Norway. So I really didn't present. I prepared a presentation specifically addressing this one here. So it's going to be a bit of a Frankenstein presentation that I put together from previous presentations. I realized while preparing this that I have most of my presentations targeting the Norwegian, the national audience. So I hope it's still relevant for you. Our project is SEAS, Science Education for Action and Engagement Towards Sustainability. Not Greek, but still an acronym. I think most of what you've been presenting is in line with what we do. It's about generating hubs. We call them local networks. And we have 6 countries, each one with its local network that is focused on facilitating open schooling activities. And you all have presented the notion of open schooling. So I will not go too much into that. I will try to focus more on what I think is more specific to our project and a bit more on the concrete cases so that you get a sense of what we are doing in the field. So the first rationale for the project, the one that we always hold in pitches like today, it's the need for school to become relevant in a context in which young people is demanding action. And so it's this divide between knowing and action that drives us. Like climate now, homework later. If a school is seen as something that it's outside of action, it's not going to be relevant. So putting action in the center, is the goal of the project. Very early in the project, I'm going to play it just as a background. You don't want to hear the sound. We went out into the streets and asked the students what they really wanted, what they were asking for during this climate strike demonstrations to get a sense what the feeling was. So we've been working a lot in the field to try to get what are the needs of both the students, but also the schools. So we take as a starting point this notion of open schooling, as you all do, of schools cooperating with other institutions and organizations to achieve community well-being. And we have these 2 main aims. First, we want to identify those core principles and best practices required for creating and sustaining open schooling collaborations. What we want to create is tools, competence that can make this type of interventions to live after the project is done, of course, and to document the type of scientific literacies and skills that emerge in this type of contexts. Not different from what we've been talking about so far. And the team, includes participants from 7 countries, Austria, Norway, Sweden, Estonia, Belgium, Italy, England. And it involves both academic institutions, universities, Bologna, Ghent, Innsbruck, Oslo, Uppsala, but also science centers and centers specialized in climate science, Center for Climate Change Adaptation in Austria, for example, and also private companies involved in generating new business models and focusing on change, like sea change in Norway. So local networks are the core of the project. By local networks, we include, just as you presented, non-governmental organizations, activist organizations, but also district projects like Oslo Science City is an innovation district project in Norway, and try to create synergies between the school and out of the school. We use this theoretical background about what needs to be happening for change to happen. So we are very concerned that if we need to change society in the scale that science is suggesting, then we need really to understand how to get change happening. So we have these 3 spheres of transformation as theoretical background. It is that we need to encourage and foster competence at the practical level. It has to do with the technical, the knowledge, the behaviors. That's been the focus for a long time. But we want to connect that also with the fact that we need to change and experiment with changing political structures around and inside the school. And also, in addition to that, we need not only to have the knowledge, the practical access, the political context, but also the individual will. So we try the personal change, beliefs, values. So we try to support and investigate change and opportunities for change across these 3 spheres. And to do that, we focus on these real life local challenges, which we put at the center. For supporting those local challenges and people to go through these 3 spheres of change, we developed concepts, digital tools and methods that we then test and document. And it is that pool of concepts, tools and methods that we are trying to build up in the project. I don't know if I should go into detail with this DC in work package structure, but just to show you that we have this focus on local networks, and then we have several work packages that support and document the activities going on there. We have a work package that is about establishing and expanding these networks, focusing on what needs to happen for the local networks to go. But then we have an assessment process that has two levels. A local process, we have documentation and assessment practices, mostly qualitative, to document by video, interviews, etc. What's going on in the local activities, what's people feeling, what's the needs, what are the teachers' concerns, what's working, what's not working. And then we have a parallel process, which is the global assessment, which both has a global instrument that includes a questionnaire, but also tries to synthesize knowledge from the local networks into more general knowledge outputs that then become dissemination artifacts for targeting these wide audiences. But I don't think you need much more detail about this. You all are working in this type of developments and structures. So concepts, many share concepts with you guys: conceiving scientific literacy as transformational action or activism, and learning as a change in personal, practical, and political structures. I already talked about the 3 spheres of transformation, but I think it's much better if I go to the, the concrete cases so that you get a sense. So what we do is to put the local sustainability challenges in the middle, in the center of school activities, and try to test what really needs to change in the actual current structures so that this becomes a reality. Because it's a very nice idea. The hubs that we are working in all of these projects sound really great, but for this to become everyday practice in national and international levels in the schools, really structural changes need to happen. So what are the structures that need to change? That's what we are trying to research. And to do that, we try to create the experimental conditions. So first we experiment with change. We help participants to go into change experiments and try to consider what they need to change themselves. And to do that, we invite them to go into 30 days challenges. And we give them a website solution to share their experiences as they try to change themselves. They may be, for example, stopping to eat meat for a month, and then they share their experiences. They may decide to not use so much water in the shower, and then they try to connect their experiences to other issues related to more systemic and political levels. So we try to support that connection between the individual to the systemic and societal. We also support a lot of participation in urban design that connects a lot with what PULCHRA project was talking about. And we try to create these synergies between the out of the school and the school. So here is, for example, in Oslo, there is this district development that is a huge development. They want to make it Europe's most sustainable city development. And the students in the schools in the area are participating in deciding what's going to happen with this area. So we support that process. And as we support it, we don't document what are the opportunities and challenges emerging there. Another example is in another city in Norway. They are collaborating with a local, it's a collective of artists who are trying to build, not trying, but actually building a cathedral, what they call a cathedral of hope, with plastic from the ocean. And so to do that, they engage with a lot of local actors and poses lots of challenges to the school that we try to document. They go outside of the school, we follow them outside. They collaborate with local actors, like this is the national leader of the circular economy in Norway. And yes, they get hands-on engaged. And a lot of the emphasis we put in the project also has to do with supporting the students to lead communication and dissemination activities. So this, for example, is from an exhibition that the students created from their experiences in the project. And then they went very wide communicating about it. They were put into television, as you see here in the national television. And then they also were visited by Statssekretær, I don't know how to say that, but officer from the Ministry of Environmental Issues in Norway. So having that impact and supporting that impact is part of what we are trying to do in the project. I'm already in my 10 minutes, but I'm gonna very quickly open the website, because I think all the technical stuff that I haven't talked about can be visited here, cis.uio.no. We are very active updating this website. For example, now we are calling for a special issue, submit your abstract. So everyone here is welcome to submit your abstract to this special issue for the sustainability journal. We have a very active blog. Here are experiences from the Sweden local network when they are talking on the role of formal agreement as a motivator and vehicle of learning. They feel how, again, these structural changes that need to happen, and it's talking about the importance of having these formal agreements and formal structures of cooperations between the school and the outside of the school, etc. So I hope you find interesting stuff here in this website, and I'm really, really glad that you invited us to participate into this dialogue. And I hope this was enough, at least, to get us started into talking. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfred. Okay, now time for questions. We lost some participants as as time goes by. It's fine. As well, I think as we said in the beginning, I feel this can be a starting point then to start discussing more concrete things throughout time. And this was just more for us to at least be at the same level and to know what the others are doing. Maybe we can have like a couple of minutes of questions, maximum until 11:30. If anyone would like to start, does anyone would like to ask anything? I can start. So one of the things that I would like to ask is, well, I feel that there's a lot of, so my first feeling is like we are doing so many common things, which makes sense, right? We were part of the same call. And I think my question will always go, how can we support each other? How can we collaborate? At least at the country level, there are several consortia here that have similar countries, and I wanted to know if you're how closed or not, or how open. Let's put it from the positive perspective. How open are your projects for us if at a certain point we want to collaborate on some common aspects, or if we want to at least to start at the national level as well? How do you see this? Whoever wants to start, I think there's no.
I mean, if I may add on, Maria, I made quite a similar I had quite a similar impression to see how kind of similar the projects are in their structure and in their key elements. So most of them have their, like, I mean, definitely all of them have their local initiatives that are embedded in the projects. They have certain like assessment tools and support instruments. I think all of them have any kind of online representation, online communities. So when it comes to your question, Maria, what do we have to share? What do we have to offer? I would rather add another issue, which is how can we actually be successful without sort of cannibalizing each other, right? Because there is a certain, I mean, open schooling as a topic is a common term. It's quite popular at the moment, but I think the community is not that wide depending on the particular topic. But when it comes to the concept itself, I think there's a kind of limited audience maybe. So how can we all be successful without competing too much? Yeah. When it comes to, for example, encouraging people to, I don't know, sign up to all the things that we have. And for that reason, I really appreciate the initiative that we have just recently launched, also initiated by you, Maria, and the Excite partner, to join forces when it comes to communicating the outcomes and speak with one voice, say, so that there is not that we are heard actually, but to avoid too much noise being around. Yeah, that's my point.
I have a question. I understand in theory what you mean by not cannibalizing, but can you be more concrete about examples in which we might happen to cannibalize ourselves? Because at first I don't know how.
Yeah, I mean that was just a random inspiration that I had, because I have seen, I think in 3 of the presentations, that they have their online communities, which are not limited to the consortia themselves, but which are trying to be open to the outside world. Yeah. So if I, as a practitioner, for example, would wonder, why would I rather sign up with PHERECLOS or with PULCHRA or with OSHubs, and why? Or should I sign up for all? Yeah. And what can I actually gain from being part of this community or that community?
I understand. I think overlapping is a better term then.
Yeah.
Okay, more thoughts about this. Yes, go ahead, Chris.
No, and the other thing that I would want to mention is that I was actually surprised to see that I think in all of the other projects, there are partners from Austria, right? So my question would be, how could we manage sort of a matrix, a network of also countries across the project, to see what is the mutual enrichment from participating in several projects within one country. So how could we, for example, with the PHERECLOS head-on approach, say, the Ars Electronica Center as the Austrian partner in the OSHubs project, and what is the added value? And I guess there is quite some added value if we also initiate that exchange on a country level. Yeah. And how can that be achieved?
Definitely. At least I think we can create a spreadsheet with all the contacts from our countries and other people, at least as a starting point. At least everyone will know who is involved and who to contact if they want to. Could we do that, at least as a very initial basic step?
Absolutely. Just one comment. I was thinking that this overlap towards the public, it's a real issue, and we have to look at that. And I agree with you, Chris. But I also wonder whether we should think more about how to share internally across research communities, because it's not always that when we compete for attention outside, we are referring to resources for researchers. We are mostly referring to resources for citizens or for schools, etc. But I think what I would appreciate, perhaps if not the most, for sure a lot, is to know what are your issues, your internal struggles and solutions that you are finding to address academic, scholarly, or perhaps practice/academic challenges that don't have to do with the public in that sense. So a sort of exchange hub of the sort that we are competing towards the public, but internally towards the academia.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. Does anyone would like to say something about this? Because I feel that some of these questions that we are raising, I know that we are a bit short on time today, but I think that if we decide to go on these informal meetings on a regular basis, we could actually have it on a theme base, on things that we would like to discuss. Now that we know more or less of where we are at and what we are doing, we could actually have it thematic, as you were saying. We're also part of a university in Leiden, and I'm sure we share several struggles in other countries. It's different kind of institutions. And one thing that you mentioned, Alfredo, is like, how can we actually make sure that we actually to change? And this is not, this actually, I think that's the key question, because and that's a very important one, definitely. Also, I would like to ask you if, so as you've been seeing, we have been trying to, everything that we have been developing, we are trying to put in our apps website in a very open and even if it's not finalized, it's a work in progress, and it's there for other people also to try it out and to provide feedback. Also, I would like to understand from you guys, imagine from impact assessment tool or from other kind of tools, which other tools you would like to, or you would be available also to share. We can also try to, we don't need to discuss all these now, but which kind of tools could we share also as a group? no sharing.
I just want to make sure others take the floor.
Sorry, I have some background noise here, but just to say, yeah, look, I think it's great to have this opportunity to initially find out about the other projects and maybe, you know, have some time to look into in more detail about what the different projects are delivering and how they're doing it, and to learn from one another that way, I think would be very beneficial. You know, as well as at the kind of level of, you mentioned, avoiding competition, you know, but not just avoiding competition, but actually complementing each other, you know, in testing the different processes and the different methodologies that are being employed, you know, over the period of this, you know, Horizon call. So at the end of it, then, you know, we'll be in a better place collectively to understand what is more effective than other approaches and what we've found difficulties with, you know, and I think in the longer term, then, you know, by collaborating and exchanging that information for future calls and future opportunities, we can maybe put, you know, look at the future and look at a combined approach, then maybe a more collective approach, or establishing a more consistent platform or network for exchanging information in the longer term.
Yep, that's relevant indeed. Okay, so I don't know, and I don't know if anyone else wants to share anything else. We are turning 11:30. I will suggest. So one of the things that is, if everyone is okay, we will share the presentations with the entire group. I will send you the video as well. So that we can put together this package of video and presentations that we can share amongst our groups. We'll also put these things online. If you're okay with that, please let me know. If you're not, if you're also okay, I guess then we can actually start this spreadsheet, at least with the contacts from all the different partners, from the different consortia. I would like to actually thank PHERECLOS for this opportunity, for these the 10 partnerships and the funding. We at the Open Science Hub are actually thinking of applying with some proposals, and maybe I'll chat with you, Chris, later. But if any of other projects would like actually to think about this, I think this could be also a nice opportunity for us to learn from each other at different projects. So I don't know, I'm going to put my email also in the chat, just in any case. Yeah. Okay, and I guess that's it. Does anyone would like to add anything? No?
Big thanks for the initiative.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this opportunity, and enjoy the rest of the week, which is already short, but thank you so much. See you soon.
Thanks for arranging this,
Bye.
Maria.
Thank
Thanks
you.
a lot.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Okay.